أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن يبتغ غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات بجمع. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. The series of majalis that we began from the night of the first of Muharram comes to its end tonight. But as announced, inshallah, the silsila of majalis will continue in the weekends to come. So I would urge all of you to continue coming. And the series that we had began, we started under the topic of messages from Ashura and messages from Karbala. The themes that we had chosen to discuss as far as what we can derive from the lectures and the speeches and the khutbat and the sayings of Imam Masoom, as well as the companions who were along with him. We went into the details of some of those messages from Ashura. Yesterday I recited this ayat from Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse number 85. And I recited the same ayat again tonight, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing وَمَن يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَن يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. That whoever chooses a religion other than Islam, it will not be accepted by him, or it will not be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on top of that, this person is counted among the losers on the Day of Judgment. We see that Quran also at another place says deen as a recognized religion, and deen is only Islam in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We talked about how the word yabtaghi is referring towards the one to whom this religion has reached, who has been made aware of this religion, who has been shown this path, whoever has received this religion and then steers away from it. So if the religion was brought to you, so for example, the Jews and the Christians in the time of Rasulullah, definitely the religion was brought to them. They actually were aware of the coming of this religion even prior to those kuffar who later on converted to Islam. So they should have accepted it. They should have embraced it, because Islam was only coming to complete what was left in the previous scriptures. And so they knew about it. Likewise, anyone today in the world who has seen or has this religion reached them, and then they steer away from this religion and choose another path, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَن يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. It will not be accepted by them. And not only that, this person is among the khasireen on the Day of Judgment. And that's why we see those who are on this path, and then they go around and they choose a different path. Those whom we refer to as the apostate or the murtad. And then we all know the saza and the punishment for the people who become this murtad. So nonetheless, the reason is because you're turning away from your fitrat. You're turning away from the nature, that which you have accepted and embraced, and now you're turning away from it and going away. So that is the criteria and the background of this ayah that we had discussed yesterday. I'm not going to go in the details of the tafsir of this ayah. Today what I want to talk about, inshallah, if I have time, after having discussed the main theme of the night, we want to also, towards the end, talk about sincerity and khulus when it comes to the three groups that are involved in this azadari. The first group is the group known as Bani Majlis, the host of the majalis. Second group is known as the Zakir Majlis, the one who delivers the lecture. In this case, it would be me. And then third group is Sami'een Majlis, that would be you. So individual duties of all of us, we've been talking about it. Yesterday we talked about what is our duty towards this deen. Today, inshallah, towards the end, if we have time, we'll talk about the individual duties of these three different groups: Bani Majlis, Zakir Majlis, and Sami'in Majlis. But we see that after the aftermath of the event of Karbala, there were a lot of reactions, and that is the reason why a lot of people say that there were many other events that took place in the history. How come you don't talk about them? How come those events, so many people lost their lives and they were massacred and they were brutally killed? How come those things are not remembered? Why have you stuck to this Ashura? Why have you stuck to the killing of Imam Hussein and the martyrdom of Imam Hussein and what took place in Karbala? The answer is that Karbala did not begin in the year 61 and ended in the year 61. Rather, it had the ongoing, consequences, and it had the ongoing effects later on as well. And we'll see right away, 1 year after the incident that takes place in Karbala, and for that reason, for that particular reason, Imam had brought his family along. A lot of people raised questions. Even at that time, people were raising questions, why are you taking your family? The purpose became clear. When Imam was martyred in the land of Karbala and he was buried, it was these ladies who went along and created the awareness as to who was killed. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult for anyone to find out who was killed, how they were killed, and what happened to them. The mazlumiyat of Sayyid al-Shuhada was literally explained through the khutbat of Janab Zainab and Kulthum and Hazrat Imam Sajjad alayhi wasalam. All of these individuals were responsible for carrying out and telling people the reality as what to have taken place. So there were a lot of things after the whole aftermath of Karbala that also took place, which were so directly connected with Karbala because they were the reactions of Karbala. For example, there's an event which takes place known as Qiyam of Ainul Warda. What is the Qiyam of Ainul Warda? Ainul Warda is the Qiyam which was started by a person such as Sulaiman ibn Surad al-Khuza'i in the name of Tawwabin. I'm sure some of you have heard about the Qiyam and the rise and the resistance of Tawwabin. So there was a group by the name Tawwabin, especially those people who have seen the narratives of Mukhtar. I'm sure they are more aware of the whole, the scenario, and they've seen it. So it's a good way of learning the history as well if you've seen it. So it becomes very, very easy to adopt. So Tawwabin, that was the first reaction right after the incident of Karbala. So we see in Ainul Warda, these Tawwabin, they stand up. There's only one cause that they're standing up to take the revenge and avenge the blood of Imam Hussein. That takes place. Although a lot of people, including Mukhtar, had told these people that let's go together in an organized way so we do the things correctly. But then those people, their hearts were just pumping to go ahead and perform this as soon as possible because of the burden of the regret that they were feeling for having not accompanied Imam Hussein in Karbala. So Ainul Warda is something which takes place. Right after that, we see the Qiyam of Hazrat Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, the Qiyam of Mukhtar also takes place. After that, 60 years down the road, we see another incident that takes place, which is the Qiyam of Zayd al-Shahid. Zayd ibn Ali ibn al-Hussein, the son of Imam Zainul Abidin, Zayd al-Shahid. He stands up, and his resistance and his revolution and his inqilab and his qiyam that he performs. And not just him, his son Yahya ibn Zayd ibn Ali ibn al-Hussein also, after his father following the same footsteps, went out to take the revenge again of the incident that took place in Karbala in the 61st year. And then the Qiyam of Abbasiyun initially was also named that they're standing up to avenge what Banu Umayyah have done to Ahlul Bayt, and that was the reason that they were standing up. So these were the incidents, at least for the next 60, 70 years, these different revolutions and these different resistance were coming about. So that was also a reminder to the people, why are these people standing up? Oh, because of Karbala. What happened in Karbala? Not too long ago, there was a person by the name Hussein, grandson of Rasulullah, he was martyred and so on and so forth. So these things were kept repeating, and that was one of the reasons why this event, the way it is commemorated every single year. Again, people were asking, what were the results? There were no immediate results of this incident in Karbala. You saw that Yazid kept on doing what he was doing. He was still sharibul khamr. He was still practicing what he was practicing. He still had the haram and halal mixed together. He was still going about the business as usual. So there was no immediate effect of what Imam Hussein had done. But every single year, when we commemorate the incident in this fashion and the whole world commemorates it, this is the biggest response to those people. The victory of Imam Hussein, victory of Janab Zainab is pronounced every single year from the 1st of Muharram as long as it continues. Salawat bheji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And that's why that hadith from Rasulullah which says, Inna liqatl al-Husayn hararatan fi qulub al-mu'mineen, or hararatan fi qulub al-mu'mineen la tabrudu abadan. Indeed, with the martyrdom and the killing of Imam Hussein, there's this hararat, there's this energy, there's this fire in the hearts of mu'mineen which will never be extinguished, which will never cool down. It will always remain heated the same way as it was maybe a day ago this incident had taken place. So that is something which has also given the life to this incident, which has been continuing. And on the same token, we have taken the life from this incident as well. And we are also, if we are surviving, it is due to this incident. So we see the incident that took place that I want to talk about is the incident of Harra. Among the things that took place, the Qiyam of Mukhtar, the Qiyam of Tawabin, the Qiyam of Zayd ibn Ali, the Qiyam of Yahya ibn Zayd ibn Ali, Qiyam of Abbasiyin, one other Qiyam that took place was the Qiyam of the people of Medina. People of Medina also realized this, and there was a revolution that came about, and they also stood up. So this is also known as Waqi Harra, the incident of Harra, the event of Harra. And it is named that, and the reason behind it, inshallah, we'll go into the details as to what took place exactly in Waqi Harra and how it is directly connected with the events of Ashura. So we see that the first person who was the main kirdar or the character or the leadership was the person by the name Abdullah ibn Hanzala. Who is this Abdullah ibn Hanzala? I'm sure many of you have heard the name Hanzala. Hanzala Ghasilul Malaika. Hanzala was a person by the name, in the time of Rasulullah, a companion of Rasulullah, who was martyred in the battle of Uhud, and he was given ghusl by the Malaika. Abdullah is the son of this person, Hanzala. He stands up, he gathers the people of Medina, brings about this awareness, and we'll go into the details as to what were the reasons of the awareness that was created in the people of Medina that was not there before. And so he is the one who's the main leader behind this revolution, this resistance that begins. So who's this Hanzala? Who's this Abdullah? Abdullah is basically son of Hanzala. Hanzala, who was part of Battle of Uhud in the time of Rasulullah. He had gotten married, and the same night, the next day, the battle in Uhud had begun. Prophet had given him, rukhsat, that you can go. You don't have to come and be part of Battle of Uhud. But he said, no, Prophet, I will come back after the wedding and everything is over with. I will come and join you guys. So he gets married. And then the night of his wedding, he spends the night with the newlywed wife. And then in the morning, he rushes towards the battlefield. So his wife asked him, where are you going? He said, well, I had promised Rasulullah that I will go join him in Battle of Uhud. So right away, the wife of Hanzala says, that as long as you're going, at least we spend this night together, get some people to be witness that tomorrow if I carry your child, nobody points fingers towards me. So then right away, Hanzala gets a few people to witness that I got married and I spent time with my wife, and then I'm going right now, so if there's a child, this child belongs to me. Obviously, it was a big deal at that time, so the lack of medical things, it was difficult at that time. So this was the best way to get some shawahid. And then Hanzala, because he didn't have enough time, he runs towards the battlefield. And then he gets martyred. Once he was martyred, he didn't even have the time to perform ghusl at home. So Prophet said, I see that the malaika are given ghusl to Hanzala, because he had come in that state performing the jihad. So he was martyred, and the angels had given ghusl to him. His wife, later on, people asked him, what made you think that you should get witnesses like this? She said, I saw a dream. When we went to sleep, I saw a dream that my husband is going towards paradise. And the angels are taking him towards paradise. And then he said, and he never came back from that. That made me understood when he woke up in the morning and told me that I'm going to the battlefield, that he's going to go to the battlefield and he's not going to come back. So obviously these are the, if you want to look at the sacrifices the people have made. Result of that is the person by the name Abdullah. Abdullah ibn Hanzala is born from this couple, Hanzala himself and his wife. And this Abdullah, he's a man of honor. He's known to be Zahid, Abid of his time. He is the one who basically initiates the getting together the people of Medina so they can stand up and take the revenge from what happened to Imam Hussein. Why didn't Hanzala's son Abdullah join Imam Hussein when Imam was leaving? We need to keep a few things in mind. When Imam was leaving, when Walid ibn Utbah had asked Imam for this allegiance, Imam left in secrecy. Imam left at night time with very close companions and friends, and so the whole city did not even find out, and so that the governor should not find out either that Imam had already left the city. And that's why they came after him in Mecca. So Imam had left in such secrecy that nobody found out, and that's why a lot of people were not able to join Imam. That could be one reason why Abdullah did not join Imam's army from the very beginning. He was a man of honor. He would have joined Imam easily. But there was also another reason. That another reason is something which exists even up until today. Existed in the time of Imam Hassan as well, existed in the time of Imam Ali, and also in the time of Rasulullah. What was that reason? The reason to be able to judge the knowledge that Prophet and the Masumeen possess and the judgment that the people were making. A Prophet says something, right away people questioned. Their judgment about what Prophet was saying, they were doubtful. And then they later on paid the high price. In the time of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, we see that Imam wants to stand up against Muawiyah. But what happens? Some of his people say, oh no, Muawiyah apparently is a nice man. He's taking care of the zahir of Islam, the apparent Islam is being taken care of him by him. He, takes care of namaz and all those things. We haven't seen anything wrong from this person. Why do you want to fight him? And secondly, he's extending a hand of truce. So tomorrow people would have said, if Imam had fought Muawiyah, that look, Muawiyah wanted to make peace. It was the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib who wanted to fight. All of the children of Abu Talib and children of Ali ibn Abi Talib wanted to fight. So he also came in the battlefield. Imam knew something that these people did not know. The tashkhis and the recognition and the judgment of the people failed them over there. So Imam had to withdraw because some of his own people betrayed him, Imam Hassan that is. And then later on when Imam made this peace treaty with the Muawiyah, he obviously breached the document, tore it apart and threw it away, saying, who cares about this? Then people realized what Imam Hassan was saying. They should have gone with him and they should have joined. So sometimes the tashkhis and the judgment of the people lets them down, and later on they realize. That could have been the same case when Imam Hussein is leaving Medina. He says that there's no way around and I have to go. A lot of people stood up against him saying, Imam, don't go. We can work this out. You're in your own city. It's better you can deal with things over here than going outside and dealing with the things outside of the city where you do not have any control over other things. You're much better off in your own hometown, aren't you? So people were saying those things, but they were not able to judge what Imam ﷺ was able to judge. So this is the difference between the judgment of the people, tashkhis of what is right, and the knowledge of Imam Masum. So that could have been also a reason why Abdullah ibn Hanzala did not join Imam initially, but later on he stood up to perform this jihad that he did. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So there are about 4 or 5 reasons why this Al-Harra, or the revolution by the people of Medina, was initiated. First reason is that we see in Medina there were ashab, companions of Rasulullah still, by the name Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari is there, Abdullah ibn Muti is there, and the people of Medina were actually a lot closer to Rasulullah and the teachings of Islam, because they had actually seen Rasulullah, and so they had received the information firsthand. You know, the communication gap that is still here, that you hear something and then right away when you quote something over there, how it changes drastically. People of Medina were hearing it firsthand from Rasulullah. And that is the difference between the maktab, or the institution that was established in Medina, as opposed to the institution that was developed in Baghdad or Iraq. What was the difference? People of Medina, every question that they had was answered by Rasulullah. or the imams who were there. So when you have a masoom between you, you don't really need to look around to the consensus or your aql. Imam and masoom will give you the answer. You have any question, right away that's the answer. But people in Baghdad or in Iraq, in Kufa, over there was no presence of imam and masoom. Prophet didn't go there either. And so therefore those people, there was a maktab of institution of Ahlur Rai. People started relying on their aql so much, start doing qiyas a lot. And so these two makatib came into play in these two areas. In Hijaz, in Medina, and Mecca, it was the maktab of Ahl Hadith. They would have hadith for everything. You ask a question, there's a hadith for it. Why? They've heard Rasulullah. Those questions that were risen, Prophet answered them right away. Imam Masoom answered them right away. But as opposed to in Iraq or in Baghdad, where Imam Masoom was not there, these people were going into, and again another thing was, in Hijaz primarily it was just Arabs. Those who had converted, Ansar and Muhajirin. In Iraq, there were different people from different backgrounds. I talked about it in one of the majalis. The Kufa, that city itself, Kufa, there were so many different ethnicities that were living there. Christians were there, Jews were there, as far as the religious minorities and majorities are concerned. You go from the aspect of Persians were there, Byzantine, and all the other places, Arabs were there. And so there were different people living in Kufa, let alone the whole Iraq. So these people are closer to the teachings of Rasul. There are people such as Abu Sayyid al-Khudri. There are people such as Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. There are people such as Abdullah ibn Muti. And these people who are considered to be very, very respectable. And Imam Hussein was also respectable in their sight. And Yazid has sent, some riwayat say, that Yazid actually sent the head of Imam Hussein to Medina. Some of the historians have actually mentioned that. For example, Baladhari in his Ansab al-Ashraf mentions that Yazid actually sent the head of Imam Hussein to Medina. That also triggered, and right away that brought about this revolution and people stood up. Second reason was the women of that city. Women of that city, there was a daughter of Aqil by the name Luqman. After hearing the incident that took place in Karbala, she took the women, they went to the grave of Rasulullah, they started lamenting, the eulogies, and that continued day in, day out, day in, day out. When the men around the area saw this, that obviously affected them, and they said, we need to do something as well. Kind of like, inshallah, what we will recite in the Masaib tonight, when the ladies of Bani Asad, the tribe that was close to Karbala, when they come, their ladies actually come, women actually come, and they are the ones who are trying to bury the bodies of the shuhada. And that's where they encouraged their men to come and do this thing. Men were scared because they were scared of Ibn Ziyad and his army, Umar Assad. They would never showed up in Karbala, although they were the closest. But nonetheless, they come on the 12th and they start burying the bodies of the deceased. So that was second reason, that the women triggered this and they basically encouraged the men. Third, we see that Imam Sajjad, he had come back to Medina. His speeches, his mazlumiyat, and the mazlumiyat of Janab Zainab, all of those things also encouraged and triggered that these people would stand up and take revenge. And lastly, we see after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, according to some research, that houses of Banu Hashim were burnt down. They were persecuted in Medina by Banu Umayyah. There were about 1,000 people from Banu Umayyah. Even Marwan was still in Medina at that time. And so obviously they have the government. Walid ibn Utbah is also from the same family of Abu Sufyan. So these people were still there. They actually went ahead and burned the houses of Ahlul Bayt and Banu Hashim in particular. And that also triggered. And so this revolution began due to these four reasons that I mentioned. Salawat Biji Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In these conditions, Yazid sees that the governor, Walid ibn Utbah, is coming very shallow and he's not able to cope with everything that Yazid wants him to do. So he deposes him, he removes him from the post, and right away he appoints a young man from his own family, from the grandchildren of Abu Sufyan, by the name Uthman. And he is appointed as the new governor. His name is Uthman ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Sufyan. Suyuti mentions in regards to this person, he says, Kana fatan hadathun ghirrun lam yajru bil umur. He was a child and he was young. He was youth years. And he had no experience, none whatsoever. A very inexperienced man was appointed for this job now, being a governor of the city. Kind of like those people who have gone for Hajj or the Umrah, and those who haven't, we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the tawfiq to be able to perform this ibadat in this year, inshallah, many years to come. That if you have gone to Hajj, you see that the people who are patrolling, the policemen especially, over there are very young kids, maybe 18 or 17, 18 or 19 years old. These are the people who are, dressed up as the police, because obviously they need more people in the time of Hajj, and they're the ones who are, taking care of the affairs because they need extra people. But you see, when you get someone at this age who does not have experience and give him such powers, a power of a policeman, then obviously things are misused. And we've seen that in a great deal, how their akhlaq shows through how they deal with the pilgrims that come over there. There's no akhlaq, none whatsoever. That was the same case. When Uthman, this person by the name Uthman ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Sufyan, is picked as the new governor, he's the same way. Suyuti says, Fatan, the one who does not, he's a child, he's a young man who does not have any experience, none whatsoever. He right away invites three people. One of them is Abdullah ibn Hanzala that we talked about. Second is Abdullah ibn Amr Makhzumi. And third is Manzar ibn Zubair. These were the three notable people at that time in Medina. He invites all three of them and he says, Yazid wants to see you. Yazid has summoned you. So you gotta go to Sham. Now this is all the background of how this revolution will begin in Medina. So right away they say, okay, fine. If Khalifatul Muslimin has asked us, so we're gonna go. All three embark on this journey. They all go. In fact, Abdullah ibn Hanzala takes 8 of the children that he had along with him in this journey. When they go, Yazid honors them, respects them, takes care of them. These are the notable, because he wants something out of them. And right away he gives them a large amount of sum to take back. Each individual was given 100,000 dirham. In fact, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam once said that if the Amir of Sham wants to deal with me with dirham and dinar, I'm willing to do so. People were like, what is the dealing of dirham and dinar? 1 dinar is 10 dirham, right? That was the case at that time. I don't know how it is right now, but 1 dinar was 10 dirham. He said, if the Amir of Sham wants to deal with me with dirham and dinar, I'm willing to do so. Imam was actually looking at his own companions, saying that if the Amir of Sham wants to do dirham and dinar, which means, take 10 of mine and give 1 of his to me, I'm willing to trade. Why? He said, because those people who are my companions, they know that I'm on haqq, I'm imam-e-haqq, yet still they're not muti and obedient to me. But those people who are the companions of Muawiyah, they know that he's on batil, yet they're so obedient to him that I'm willing to make this trade of dirham and dinar with him. Give 10 of mine and take 1 of his. This is Imam is addressing to his own companions. Imam said that these words are documented and even found in Nahjul Balagha as well. But nonetheless, he gives 100,000 dirhams to all 3 of these people who have come. Now Abdullah ibn Hanzala and Abdullah ibn Umar Khazrami, they both come back to Medina. The third person goes towards Kufa because he's relative of Ibn Ziyad and he has some, things to take care of. When these people come back, right away, the Medinian people come to these two saying, you just met the Khalifatul Muslimin. What have you decided? What are we going to do? This is where Abdullah speaks out. And the first step towards forming an army, getting people together to revolt and cause this revolution. This is quoted by Ibn Athir, Al-Kamil fi Tarikh, Ibn Athir, a Sunni historian. He quotes this. He says, this is what Abdullah said. قَالُوا قَدَمْنَا مِنْ عِنْدِ رَجُلٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ دِينٍ. We're talking about deen, right? وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ مِنَ الْآخِرَةِ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. The one who chooses another religion besides Islam after it has come to them, it will not be accepted. This is what Abdullah says in regards to Yazid. He said, we're coming from a person, رَجُلٌ لَيْسَ لَهُ دِينٍ, the one who does not have any religion. يَشْرُبُ الْخَمْرِ وَيَضْرِبُ بِالتَّنَابِيرِ. This person drinks alcohol, he's a drunkard, and he has musical instruments that he plays with. وَيَلْعَبُ بِالْكِلَابِ. And he also plays and he has these dogs that he is in habit of playing with. This is the Khalifa of Muslimin. How is he going to take care of the affairs of Muslimin in that Islamic era when he's busy with these things and his mind is always occupied because he was brought up and grown up in that fashion? This is the state of Islam at the moment in the 61st year of Hijrah, that after the wafat of Rasulullah 50 years later, there's a person who's a drunkard, person who plays with dogs, person who has musical instruments, the person who's sharibul khamr, and then he mentions that he does not have any religion. This is the person who's sitting on the masnad of Rasulullah. Imagine the state of Islam. So this is where Abdullah says, and then he added, he says, we came from him, and this person yada'u salat. He doesn't pray either. If you're looking for only the negatives, he doesn't pray either. When it comes to namaz, only when he has to lead, then he comes and does that. But in fact, he doesn't pray either. And lastly, he says, نَحْنُ خَلَعْنَاهُ. We have relieved him and deposed him of this khilafat. He is no longer considered to be Khalifatul Muslimin. And this is where people obviously came to Abdullah. And he said, if we don't do this, مَا خَرَجْنَا عَلَى يَزِيدِ ibn Muawiyah حَتَّى خِفْنَا أَن نَرْمِ بِالْحِجَارَةِ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. If we don't stand up against Yazid ibn Muawiyah, today I'm afraid that instead of baran, instead of rain, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send stones upon us from the skies if we don't stand up today. This is the state of the Muslim Ummah, and therefore I ask all of you to make bay'at to me. But remember this bay'at is a bay'at bil maut, for death. Because you guarantee your death. As soon as you do bayat with me, we're going to stand up against this tyrant and he's going to end up killing us. So his bayat is bayat bil maut. Right away, people come up to him. Baya'uhu alal maut. All of these people went ahead and made the bayat, saying what you have seen, what you have told us, we agree to it. All the other causes that we had mentioned earlier, the people of Medina, the khutbah of Imam Zainul Abidin, the ladies getting together at the Haram of Rasulullah, all of those things coming together, the army was formed. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So why right away, first thing they do, they go to Darul Amara. They take this person, Uthman ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Sufyan, they depose him, that you're no longer the governor of Medina. And they take Banu Umayyah as hostages, and as well as Marwan ibn Hakam, who is still in Medina, he's also kept under this captivity. This is the first thing that they do. Obviously, Yazid finds out about it. He asks, again the same person, Ibn Ziyad, to go ahead and take care of these people. How dare they revolt? Ibn Ziyad says something very interesting at this point. You imagine Ibn Ziyad and his mentality, what he has done, the crimes that he has already, atrocities that he has committed. But look, there's some sort of differences between Ibn Ziyad and Yazid. Yazid, we talked about it the other day. Right away, what did he say? He said, I distance myself for the actions of Ibn Ziyad. La'anallahu ibn Marjana. May Allah curse Ibn Marjana for what he has done. Right away, Yazid was distancing himself when the heads and the captives are brought into Sham. Well, he said, I didn't ask him to kill Hussein. He went ahead and did. He did not listen to my commands. So he had already distanced himself. But then, when he did not depose Ibn Ziyad, he's saying, I don't accept his actions. When you don't accept his actions, you go, what do you do to your subordinate? You remove them. But he did not remove them. So over here, Ibn Ziyad is also ticked off with this thing, that what Yazid has done. But this is what he says at this point. He says, Wallahi, لَأَجْمَعَتُهُمَا لِلْفَاسِقِ. Wallahi, by God, I will not add, or I will not put these two things together for this fasiq. He's referring to Yazid as fasiq. He said, قَتْلُ إِبْنِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ وَغَزْوِ الْكَعْبَةِ. He made me kill son of Rasulullah. Now he wants me to go ahead and to an incursion and invade Kaaba and the Medina and the city of Rasulullah. I'm not going to go ahead and do these two things, and I'm not going to go and combine these two things. So Ibn Ziyad excuses himself. He said, I'm not going to go do that. Right away, Yazid, now he has to keep this in mind as well, that Medinan are very respected people. The ashab that I mentioned, they were lived in the time of Rasulullah. And so this sanctity of the city, the kind of like the sanctity that we still have for these two cities except the people who are now living there. But still, a lot of Muslim Ummah is very fond of these people and respect them, Khadimul Haramain and Sharifain, and they won't want to hear anything, any word about these people. That's how the respect they still has in a lot of many of the Muslim countries. So the same thing was there in the other Muslim Ummah. People of Kufa, people of Sham, still respected the people of Medina because of their closeness with Rasulullah, because they lived in Medina. So that was the height of it. So right away, Yazid cannot just order another army, get up and go ahead and attack, Medina. He would need some sort of incentive for his people, so they go ahead and perform this. This is where the fabricating or the fabrication factory that Banu Umayyah had installed comes into play. Right away, Yazid goes up on the pulpit. He gathers people in the masjid. He said, I saw a dream. What was the dream? I saw a dream that I see the tree of Gharqad. Where's the tree of Gharqad? In Jannatul Baqi. Jannatul Baqi is known as Al-Baqi Al-Gharqad because of the tree in Jannatul Baqi. So he said, I saw a dream. And there was a voice coming from the tree of Gharqad. And the voice was saying, Ya litharati Uthman. Who is going to take the revenge of the blood of Uthman? Right away, you want to turn the faces of the Medinians or these people, you want train them to go ahead and attack them, you bring the Khulafa. He said, people, that tree, because Uthman is also buried there, his grave is still there. He said, the tree is calling out, saying, Ya litharati Uthman. Who is going to take the revenge of the blood of Uthman? Right away, people started weeping because Uthman, they had a soft corner for. Everybody has soft corner. At that time, especially the third Khalifa, Qutila Mazluman, he was killed in the state of Mazlum and whatnot. And so right away, they said, who is going to do this? He said, I saw a dream. And there's one person whom I saw is going to go ahead and perform this. And then he goes ahead and names that person, saying, Muslim ibn Uqba, I saw that in my dream, he's the one who takes the revenge. But you all have to follow him under his lead and go ahead and perform this jihad. This is how they convert the haqq or the batil into haqq. Falsehood, if you want to learn how to convert falsehood into haqq, you learn it from Banu Umayyah. Kind of like what his father did in the time of Battle of Siffin, Ammar Yasir. Prophet has said one thing in regards to Ammar Yasir. What was it? He said, Taqtuluka fi'atul baghiya. Who will kill you? O Ammar, innama taqtuluka fi'atul baghiya. Indeed, you will be killed by a group of baghi, a rebellious. Rebel. Rings any bell? Rebels are still doing the same thing in Syria present day. So he said, you will be killed by a group of rebellious. Right away, people were scared of getting into any confrontation with Ammar. He said, lest we be the one who end up killing Ammar, because what Prophet has said. What Prophet has said is definitely comes true. So we're not going to go ahead and indulge into any sort of conflict with Ammar Yasir. But Ammar gets killed where? In Siffin. When Ammar Yasir is killed in Siffin, right away people started questioning, we killed Ammar. People of Muawiyah. So this is where the factory comes into play again. To make the false into true. He said, no, we haven't killed him. In fact, these are the words that Muawiyah says. You think we have killed him? إِنَّمَا قَتَلَهُ الَّذِينَ جَاءُوا بِهِ. Those who have brought him over here are the killers of him. And who is that? That means Ayani Aliyan wa Ahlul Iraq. That means Ali and Ahlul Iraq. Those who have brought Ammar over here, they're the real culprits of killing him. We haven't killed him. If he wasn't brought over here, right away people say, yes, that makes sense. Right away he changed the mentality of the people. That criteria right here tells us that those who bring the person, they are responsible for the killer. Then Rasulullah becomes responsible for all the shuhada of Badr. Rasulullah becomes responsible for all the shuhada of Uhud, including his uncle Hamza. Because Rasul brought him to Uhud. If he hadn't brought him to Uhud, he wouldn't have been killed. This was the mentality, the shallow mentality of the people. Right away, they said, okay, yeah, fine. Same thing happens over here. Under the leadership of Muslim ibn Uqba, these people form an army and then they march towards obviously taking the revenge of the blood of Uthman. The main purpose is to go ahead and shut these people because they're standing up taking the revenge of Imam Hussein. But with the name of Uthman, now he's sending them towards Medina to go ahead and take this revenge. Salawat bheji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad par. So we see this is where the event, people learn that the army is coming. Same thing that they had done in the previous battles in Uhud. They dig trenches around the city of Medina so that the enemy cannot come in. Enemy runs into the same problem. As soon as they arrive in the vicinity of Medina, they cannot come into the city. Why? Because of these long trenches that have been dug. The Khandaq or the Ahzab that has been dug by these people. But this is where Marwan ibn Hakam goes to a person from the tribe of Bani Haritha, bribes him, who was a local of Medina. He said, go and take and bring these people inside somehow. And then he bribes him. This person goes, brings these people inside. And then obviously, this is where, Muslim ibn Uqba and his army sent by Yazid, they end up killing, massacring large amount of people. 1,700 Muhajirin and Ansar were killed. 80 of those people who took part in the Battle of Badr, those people, Badriyin, were also killed in this massacre. And then 10,000 people in Medina were also killed. And then there's no count of how many atrocities that were done with the women and the children. That all is also documented in the history. So we go ahead and look at it very briefly as I'm running out of my time, some of the crimes by Banu Umayyah. Again, this group, this Waqi Harra that takes place, it stands up, wants to take the revenge for the killing of Imam Hussein. And this was how they met with this person, which is Suyuti in his Tarikh al-Khulafa. This is how he mentions it. He says, Waq'atul Harra, wa ma adraka ma waq'atul Harra. The ayat of Quran, Al-Qari'atu mal-Qari'ah, wa ma adraka mal-Qari'ah. When you want to explain the height of something, he said, Al-Qari'atu mal-Qari'ah. What do you know what Al-Qari'ah is? Or in regards to Laylatul Qadr, Laylatul Qadr, khair. Same thing he says. These are the words of Suyuti in Tarikh al-Khulafa. What does he say? He says, Waqa'atul Harra wa ma adraka ma waqa'atul Harra. What is this event? He says, Yudraku wala Yusuf. We know it, but we cannot explain what happened. Just a brief list of the crimes of Banu Umayyah that after destroying Medina, Muslim ibn Uqba was asked about the future plans. What do you plan on doing now? He said, now we're going to go ahead and destroy Makkah as well because there are people revolting over there. Especially Abdullah ibn Zubair was there, and so they wanted to go ahead and destroy Kaaba. He said, Kaaba? You want to go ahead and attack Kaaba? He said, the word and the commands of Amirul Mu'mineen is over, trespasses, or is above the hurmat of Kaaba. Because Yazid has ordered us to go ahead and do this, his commands are even beyond the hurmat of Kaaba that you know. Second, Hujr ibn Adi, we know about him as well. Companion of Amirul Mu'mineen, Sahabi of Rasul. He was also dragged around in the city of Kufa and Sham, and he was also massacred and killed while his grave was dug right in front of him. That this is going to be your grave, and this is how he's killed. Muawiyah asked one of his companions to kill a person by the name Abdul Rahman ibn Hassan. Kill him so tragically that it becomes an example for the people. You know how he was killed? He was buried alive into his grave. And then there were other people, other crimes that were committed by these Banu Umayyah. So we see that lastly, when they reach the house of one of the Sahabis of Rasulullah by the name Abu Sa'id Khidri, they get to his house, they ask him, who are you? He says, I'm Abu Sa'id Khudri. He said, oh, we've heard your name a lot. You're a great companion of Rasulullah. You have quoted a lot of ahadith. We have heard a great deal of ahadith associated to you. He said, yeah, that's me. He said, because of that, we're not going to kill you. But still, they went ahead and harassed the individual to the extent that they pulled his hair off of his face and from his head. Just imagine the pain that these people went through. This was the whole event of Harra that takes place, and how Yazid, after having killed Imam Hussein in Karbala. So this is how it begins. If you look at the sequence of it, first you kill the Imam, second you attack the city of Rasul, and then you go towards Kaaba. So this is how the step by step he's approaching Imam, then Rasul, then Allah. Basically, that's how it is. He attacked Imam Hussein, he killed him. Then he attacked the city of Rasulullah, and he killed so many people over there. And then finally, he makes his way towards Kaaba, and he desecrates the Kaaba. This was the reason that Imam Hussein stood up among the messages of Ashura that it still is remembering and reverberating in our minds due to these incidents that took place after the tragedy. We walk into the day number 12, and which is the 12th of Muharram, and the incidents of 12th of Muharram. These couple of days have been very difficult for the family of Imam Hussein. The day of Ashur began with the call of the killing of Banu Hashim and the companions. The day of 11th began with the ladies and the women not knowing what their fate holds ahead of them. The 12th day comes when they're finally taken to the city of Kufa. But before they're taken, look at the mentality of these people, that Umar Asad buries his own people. Obviously, there were a lot of people that were killed by Imam Hussein. Even Hazrat Abbas, when he went to fetch water, Ali Akbar, Qasim, all of these people, when they went towards the battlefield, they killed a great deal of enemy. He goes ahead and he buries his own people. He performs namaz-e-janaza onto them, but he does not touch the bodies of the companions of Imam Hussein. The atrocity that was committed yesterday on the 11th was to sever the heads, detach the heads from the bodies. So the bodies, the shuhada, were killed once again. After they have been massacred, once again they're being killed and persecuted by the bodies being detached. Nonetheless, they are now making their way towards the city of Kufa. They're leaving behind their loved ones. The women are leaving behind their husbands. The children are leaving behind their brothers and their parents, their fathers. And the sisters are leaving behind their brothers. In this state, they exit the city of Karbala. They don't want to leave. We talked about it yesterday, how when the ladies asked to go from where the bodies are, they didn't want to leave them, but they were forced into leaving. They said, what are we going to do? Why are we going to go somewhere? The loved ones are all buried over here. Why do you want to go somewhere else? But nonetheless, they have to go. They're moving towards Kufa. The Kufa, when they reached there, it was nighttime, so they're made to wait before the morning and they can enter into Kufa. The same Kufa, when 20 years ago in the year 37, 38, when Amir al-Mu'mineen had established Kufa as his capital, the same women and the children had come to Kufa. But at that time when Janab Zainab had come, at that time when Janab Kulthum had come, at that time when Hazrat Abbas was also accompanying them, at that time Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein were also present when they were coming to Kufa. It was a different scenario altogether. Why? Because they were coming with respect. They were coming with proper honor and due respect that they deserve, in a way that the carriages were closed, that no mahram could see. The camels were with saddles and everything. But today, unfortunately, when they're entering into Kaaba, there are no saddles on top of these camels. There are no carriages. There's no veil on these ladies, so they may cover themselves. This is the state, the mazlumiyat of the family of Imam Hussein, that they're entering into the city, which was ruled by their father 20 some years ago. The same city is now laughing at them. And then when some of the ladies found out that this is the family of Imam Hussein, this is the family of Rasulullah, they also started weeping for them. This is where Janab Zainab looks up to them and says, oh the people of the Kufa, your men kill our men, and now you are crying and weeping over us? Astaghfirullah. And then this qafila is moving towards the Darul Amara, moving towards the court of Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad had done one thing. He said when the heads were brought in a day early, he said, no, take the heads back and then make them come all together inside the city, so that people look at that we have killed the person who has stood up against the Amir al-Mu'mineen, and so we have killed him, and this is how we bring in the captives. So it becomes an example so that nobody again revolts against us. And this is the state when they're coming in. People are throwing sadaqah towards the children. Janab Kulthum tells the kids are hungry, they're thirsty, but Janab Zainab and Janab Kulthum go ahead and guard the kids and saying them, don't take these things. We are from the household of Rasulullah. Sadaqah is haram unto us. This is where some ladies who felt sympathy for the family of Rasulullah, they wanted to bring some veils for them. They wanted to bring some chadars for them, but they were also snatched back from them. The ladies are covering their faces with their hair. But this is where when Janab Zainab speaks out, the Ravi says, as soon as Janab Zainab spoke out, there was a person by the name Abdullah ibn Afif who had lost both of his eyes, one in the battle of Siffin, second in the battle of Jamal with Amirul Mu'mineen, and he said, oh Allah, how come I did not embrace Shahadat? You have given me life, that I'm living with these without eyes and I'm blinded. He was walking with his daughter, and right away he hears the sound and the voice of Janab Zainab. He says to his daughter, oh my daughter, is it the time of Qayamat? Has Qayamat happened already? Is this the day of judgment? The daughter says, no, this is not the day of judgment, but some caravan had come in, some qafila has come in, and there are some captives with them. There are some women with them who are not covered, and then there are some heads that are they're up on the spears. He said, who are these people? I hear the voice of my Mawla Amirul Mu'mineen. She says, no, this is not the voice of your Mawla Amirul Mu'mineen. Rather, this is the voice of the daughter of Amirul Mu'mineen, Zainab Kubra. This is where Abdullah understands why Allah took away one eye in Siffin and the second eye in Jamal, so that he does not seize this atrocious scene, so that his eyes would not stand up to look at the ladies and the women of the household of Rasulullah. The 12th of Muharram arrives, and finally the ladies and the women from Bani Asad, when they make their way outside towards the land in Karbala, they see the dead bodies all around. They urge their men to come and bury these Muslimin. These people are Muslims as well. They come in. They were fearful of Ibn Ziyad and Umar Asad. That's why they did not come into Karbala to help Imam. But finally, their women, when they urge them to come and bury these bodies, but they want to bury them, but there are no heads attached with the bodies. It's very difficult to find out whose body belongs to which person. And so when they go ahead and bury, how are they going to leave any signs of it? While they were thinking about it, they see that there's a man coming on a horse from Kufa. At first, they were scared that someone from the army of Ibn Ziyad might be coming. When they were fearful and they were retreating, a person called out saying, don't go, I'm coming to help you out and bury these bodies so that we can recognize them. This was Imam of the time. This was Imam Sajjad. He comes in with ijaz and miracle. He comes in to help out these bodies one after another. Imam says, this is the body of my uncle. See that there are no arms with it. This is the body of Aun Muhammad. This is the body of Qasim. See how it was trampled under the hooves of the animals. And this is the body of my father Hussein. And the body of Hussein, where you cannot find a spot that there was not a wound. These people killed my father. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Ala lanatullah al-qawm al-zalimin. Wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayyamun qalbin yanqalibun. Allah, please accept our ibadah tonight. Allah, we have committed a lot of sins. Please forgive our sins. Allah, deal with us with your mercy and do not deal with us with your justice on the day of judgment. Allah, give us the tawfiq and the strength to be able to follow the commands and the teachings of Masumeen alayhi salatu wassalam. Allah, hasten the zuhur of our awaited Imam and make us among the helpers and the soldiers of Imam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ma'atim Hussain.